Hello, this is a video about the invisible string. This was a term coined by a private student of mine, Jared, and I love it because it helps me to remember, it helps my students to remember. It was in response to something I've been teaching a lot over the last year about fifths. So the invisible string. Before we really talk or demonstrate the invisible string, we need to put them onto the viola. So we take out the invisible string from my pocket. Here it is. It's invisible, of course, so you can't see. We have to get that awful plastic off, right? It's always so difficult. We get the plastic off, open it up, and pull it out, and there it is. It's invisible, you can't see it. So we're going to be putting the invisible string between our visible strings, and there's going to be 3 of them. So I will put this on right now. Invisible strings have invisible pegs, of course. So here we go. And yes, I have strung up my first of 3 invisible strings. Now, this is a bit of silly theater to help you remember, but of course I put the invisible strings on prior to this video, so I don't need to bore you with that. They're here. Now, what am I talking about? It's very, very silly. All of this is in response to a fundamental thing about our instruments, violin and viola, that are tuned in fifths. We have 3 fifths for our instruments, 3 of them. We have 4 strings, but only 3 fifths. And fifths, playing fifths, are a marvelous thing, and I'm going to give you a little refresher. So, this fifth right here. Alright, so the fifth can be tuned very easily with our elbow. So this fifth's pretty in tune. But if I move my elbow just a little bit, and the fifth has gone out of tune. But if I move my elbow back to the right place, it's okay. And if I go the other way, even 2 inches, you saw my elbow went 2 inches and the fifth went out of tune. Enough meat of my finger had left the D string. Yeah. So, for fifths, play on the pads of your fingers, like the pads, not the tips. You need all that real estate to cover the 2 strings, and you aim for the invisible string, exactly between your visible strings. That's where you're aiming for. And use your eyes. Eyes are very useful. Aiming for the invisible string. And there it is. A word of warning. You are going to find that when a fifth is out of tune, your elbow might be in completely the wrong place, and the fifth is out of tune, like that one. You're going to find that when you squeeze with that finger, that it brings the fifth into tune. And you're going to feel that the solution to tuning fifths is by squeezing. But this is, as they say, a Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic victory is where your wins are worse than your losses. At least that's my understanding of it. You do not need to press for fifths. So this fifth here, alright. My strings are nowhere close to being pressed to the fingerboard. They're about 1 millimeter at least off the fingerboard. So I am not pressing hard. I'm playing the invisible string, and it's really, really light. My elbow happens to be in the right place. Wrong place. Wrong place. Right place. Fifths will get better if you play on the pads of your fingers. If you have your elbow in the right place, and if you practice them, you've got to practice them. Okay, so the real world application for this, I'll use a couple examples. The E flat beret from the 4th cello suite. This one. That one. So I have underneath my higher fingers, I'm blocking this fifth. And then I'm blocking this fifth here, even though I'm not playing it with my bow. So again, so these are where my fingers end up. And this is easier than if I put my second finger on the visible string and my third finger on the other visible string. You see how far apart the fingers are. They don't like that. They like to be closer. While we're talking, the natural desire of our fingers is to be going this way. So to that end, sixths are easier than tritones. You can see I have to move my elbow to make that tritone work. Sevenths are easier than thirds for the same reason. Our fingers love this shape, and they're not so crazy about that shape. And fifths, as a habit, especially on your first and second fingers, underneath everything else that's going on, it can be an amazing gift to yourself. I have fifths blocked in the first and second fingers probably 90% of the time. These might seem like very small details, but if you practice a lot, like I do, hours and hours every day, and you were looking for a long career in life in music, these little gains can be huge, especially when the music is fast. And when you're just trying to live a long, full life playing till you're 80, 90, 100. I used to have terrific trouble getting an octave in tune. Specifically, this octave, the one from the Gavotten Rondo from the third violin partita. This one. This one, I was used to play out of tune, and it bothered me because nobody wants to play out of tune, especially octaves. Wouldn't you agree? So, when I started blocking the fifth here, that octave started coming into focus for me, and I play it in tune most of the time now. You'll see what happens when I do I can still manage it when I put the fingers on visible strings. But oh my goodness, it's so much easier when I put the first finger on both strings for octaves. Try it. It'll work for you. I made a long video about this, which maybe I'll put in a link below if you're more interested. I've showed this to a lot of people, including many professionals and all my students, of course. Nobody, not a single person, even though some of them found it a little bit weird, I've not encountered anybody who didn't think this was really great. But you have to try it for yourself, of course. So I will end this video on the invisible string, and I hope that it helps you. Bye-bye.